The Old Uncle's Secret Adventure. Part 1. The Mysterious Map. Arthur Wilson was 72 years old. He lived alone in a small wooden cottage at the edge of Green Hill Village. The cottage stood on a grassy hill overlooking a beautiful lake. Every morning, Arthur woke up before sunrise, brewed a cup of hot tea, and sat on his porch watching the birds fly across the sky. Arthur had white hair, a long gray beard, bright blue eyes, and a gentle smile. He always carried an old wooden walking stick that had traveled with him around the world many years ago. The villagers called him Old Uncle Arthur. Although everyone liked him, nobody knew much about his past. Years ago, Arthur had been a sailor. He had crossed dangerous oceans, visited mysterious islands, and survived powerful storms. But after retiring, he chose a peaceful life away from the sea. One cold autumn evening, dark clouds covered the sky. Strong winds rattled the windows of Arthur's cottage. Arthur decided to clean his dusty attic while the storm raged outside. The attic was filled with old boxes, forgotten books, rusty tools, and souvenirs from his travels. As he moved an old wooden cabinet, he noticed something unusual behind it: a small wooden chest. The chest was covered with dust and spider webs. Arthur frowned. "I don't remember this chest," he muttered. Curious, he pulled it forward. The lock had rusted away long ago. When he opened it, a cloud of dust rose into the air. Inside were several old journals, a brass compass, a silver pocket watch, and a rolled-up piece of yellow paper. Arthur carefully picked up the paper. The moment he touched it, his heart skipped a beat. It looked familiar. Very familiar. Slowly he unrolled it. His eyes widened. It was a map. A map he had not seen in over 50 years. Arthur stared at it silently. His hands trembled. This can't be possible. The map showed the location of a mysterious island deep in the Atlantic Ocean, an island that many people believed existed only in legends, a place known as Shadow Island. Memories flooded back into Arthur's mind. When he was 20 years old, he had sailed with Captain Edward Blackstone, one of the greatest explorers of his time. During a voyage across the Atlantic, they discovered clues about a hidden treasure buried on Shadow Island. According to an ancient legend, the treasure belonged to an old king who had hidden his fortune centuries ago. The treasure was said to contain gold, diamonds, emeralds, and priceless artifacts. However, before they could locate the island, a violent storm destroyed their ship. Most of the crew survived, but the map disappeared. Or so Arthur had believed. Yet now, after 50 years, the map was right in front of him. Arthur sat down slowly. The storm outside seemed to fade away. His mind was filled with questions. How had the map ended up in his attic? Who had placed it there? And why had he never found it before? For hours, Arthur studied the map. In the corner, he noticed a small symbol. A symbol he recognized instantly. Captain Blackstone's personal seal. Suddenly, Arthur remembered something. Just before the great storm, Captain Blackstone had handed him a small package. "Keep this safe, Arthur," the captain had said. "If anything happens to me, one day you'll understand." Arthur never learned what happened to the captain. After the storm, Blackstone vanished. Many believed he had died. But now Arthur wondered if the captain had secretly hidden the map inside the package. Outside, thunder shook the cottage. Arthur carefully folded the map and placed it on the table. He knew one thing: his quiet life was about to change. The next morning, Arthur walked to the village library. The library was run by Emma Parker, a young historian who loved studying ancient legends. Emma was 26 years old, intelligent, curious, and always eager for adventure. When Arthur entered, Emma smiled. "Good morning, Uncle Arthur." "Good morning, Emma. You look excited today." Arthur nodded. "I need your help." Emma noticed the seriousness in his voice. She led him to a private room. Arthur carefully unfolded the map. Emma stared at it. Her eyes grew wide. "Where did you get this?" Arthur explained everything. The attic, the chest, the storm, the forgotten map. Emma listened carefully. After studying the map for several minutes, she opened several reference books. Finally, she found something. A centuries-old journal. Inside was an illustration, the same symbol that appeared on Arthur's map. Emma looked up. "This is incredible." "What does it mean?" Arthur asked. "It means Shadow Island might actually be real." Arthur's heart raced. Emma continued. "According to these records, explorers searched for Shadow Island for hundreds of years. And none ever returned." The room became silent. Arthur looked back at the map. For most people, that would have been enough reason to stay home. But Arthur had spent his life facing danger. The warning only made him more curious. That evening, he returned home and began preparing. He packed food, water, warm clothing, medical supplies, ropes, flashlights, and navigation equipment. As he worked, excitement filled his heart. For the first time in decades, he felt alive. The next day, Emma arrived at the cottage carrying a backpack. Arthur looked surprised. "What are you doing?" Emma smiled. "I'm coming with you." Arthur laughed. "No, you're not." "Yes, I am. It's dangerous." "I know." Arthur shook his head. "You could get hurt." Emma crossed her arms. "And you could get lost without a historian." Arthur couldn't argue with that. Eventually, he agreed. Over the next week, they gathered supplies and researched everything they could about Shadow Island. Most records described strange disappearances, mysterious lights, and hidden caves. One story spoke of a guardian protecting the treasure. Another claimed the island itself was cursed. Neither Arthur nor Emma believed in curses. At least not yet. Finally, the day arrived. They traveled to Harbor Town, where fishing boats lined the docks. After searching for hours, they found a captain willing to take them part of the way. Captain James Morgan was a strong, middle-aged sailor with years of experience. When Arthur showed him the map, Morgan's face turned pale. "Shadow Island? You've heard of it?" Arthur asked. Morgan nodded slowly. "Every sailor has." "And?" Morgan hesitated. "They say strange things happen near that island." Emma smiled. "Ghost stories?" Morgan looked serious. "Maybe." Arthur stepped forward. "We still need passage." The captain studied them for a moment. Finally, he sighed. "All right." 3 days later, their journey began. The sea was calm. The sky was clear. Everything seemed perfect. For 2 days, they sailed peacefully across the ocean. Arthur enjoyed being back at sea. The salty air reminded him of his youth. But on the third night, something changed. Dark clouds appeared on the horizon. Strong winds began to blow. The waves grew larger. Captain Morgan looked worried. Arthur noticed. "What's wrong?" Morgan pointed ahead. In the distance, faint lights flickered above the water. Green lights. Moving lights. Lights that shouldn't have been there. Emma stared in amazement. "What are those?" Morgan swallowed nervously. No sailor likes seeing those. The lights slowly drifted across the ocean surface. Then, as suddenly as they appeared, they vanished. A heavy silence settled over the ship. Arthur felt a strange chill. Something told him they were getting close. Very close. Far ahead, hidden beneath dark storm clouds, a shadowy shape appeared on the horizon. A mysterious island rising from the sea. Shadow Island. After 50 years, Arthur Wilson had finally found it. But he had no idea what dangers were waiting for them there. And somewhere on that island, hidden among ancient ruins and forgotten secrets, a mystery older than anyone could imagine was about to reveal itself.